Anyway, I agree with you that some amendation to the free trade purism of the 90s and 2000s is justified, because it had results that were, it had two results that were not expected. One was that it really did, even though it did generate global wealth increase of quite phenomenal amount, and it did a huge amount of good for a lot of poor people around the world. It's astonishing what happened. It did target the American middle and working classes in a way that they were uniquely suffering because of it, not just in the US, but also in Western Europe and other Western, and that required some adjustment. I'm absolutely agree with that. I also agree with you that the immigration policies of Biden were disastrous, that mass immigration is a huge problem, both economically, socially, culturally, and for the immigrants themselves, and risks destabilizing the society. However, and this is where we get, even those of us who are in favor of all those things nonetheless draw the line at saying, for example, that when you use tariffs in the chaotic and impulsive way that he has, it's incredibly destabilizing to investors, to the ability for businesses to plan, to think straight, that no one sane would do it this way. Do you take some? Do you think that's a not unreasonable thing to say?
I think it's destabilizing to the rich, and I think that's kind of the point. I mean, he's
that chart that day. I mean, come on, he's just. I mean, this is not government. This is not competent, effective, reasonable government. It is an impulsive human being just fucking the world up because he can.
Well, you can't really have it both ways. On the one hand, that he's been singular-minded on tariffs for 40 years, which he has, and that it's impulsive, and that he just came up with this idea now.
No, he's just come up with this particular formula for deciding on which country will pay what.
He's waging class warfare on behalf of the American working class. That's how they see it. I mean, it's how I see it, but it's also how they see it. And that is.
Do you think the current tax bill is warfare in favor of the working class? It's crushing people's...
The current tax bill has within it tax cuts that were given to middle and working class families, you know, in the first term, which if they expire will result in, 20% higher taxes.
But you could let those expire and let the super wealthy whom
that
you
is
suppose
exactly
you say...
that is the argument that I and Steve Bannon and Josh Hawley and many others are making.
And it would be a coherent argument, Batya, and I would have a huge amount more respect if that was what was being proposed, but it isn't, as you know.
He's been waffling on it, and the reason for that is what he's doing with the economy is, on the one hand, he's got these very pro-worker, like just straight up class warfare on behalf of the working class policies, the tariffs and the immigration controls. On the other hand, he has the very pro-business side of things, the deregulation, the slashing the corporate tax rate. If you reshore your manufacturing, you bring your factory back here, cheap energy. What he wants is an actual economy that will raise all ships. And the question is, where do tax cuts for the rich go? Do they go in the pro-worker side of things, meaning raise taxes on the rich, get that money and pay down the deficit? Or do they go in the pro-business side of things, meaning we've done so much for the working class, let's make sure to give that boost to the economy? I clearly want it to be in the pro-worker side of things, but there's an argument to be made that it belongs in the pro-business side of things. Our businesses have taken a hit from the tariffs, that's true. I am expecting a lot of them to absorb it. Places like, GM have already committed to doing so. Walmart keeps waffling on whether it will. It should. These are places that make billions and billions of dollars in profits. They can afford to absorb a 10% tariff. But that's a conversation that is right now happening in the GOP, which is split on this. And they're having that conversation right now.
It's not in the bill. I mean, the bill is obviously the same old.
The bill doesn't really exist yet. It's being rewritten in the Senate right now. We have no idea what it's going to look like.
Well, that's my other problem. These things happen without any regular order. We don't have the ability to debate.
This is like what democracy looks like.
No, it isn't. It absolutely isn't. Democracy does not mean only one bill a year. in which everything is crammed, and then suddenly,
first of all,
it's jammed down your throat whether you like it, and you vote on it regardless. It is an insane way to run a country.
It's actually not everything. It's only things that are necessary spending because it's a reconciliation bill. So it's actually a very limited bill.